What is going on, everyone? Welcome into Big Time Football Talk. So I want to get into this. I think for LSU football, now is not the time to panic. This is such a young roster. They lost so many guys from that last year's national title team. Derek Stingley, Terrence Marshall, Glenn Logan, or some of just a few of the guys that returned from that national title team. I mean, you see, like in history of college football, when a team loses an extraordinary amount of guys. Like I'm talking about Alabama in 2010, after the 2009 season, the national title, they had two starters back on defense. They went 10-3, and everyone's like, what's wrong with Alabama? This is a case of what happens when you lose an extraordinary amount of guys. You're going to have growing pains the next year. You're going to need a lot of guys to grow up and get better. Derek Stingley, still a bright spot on this team. I could go on about Derek Stingley. He's one of the best corners in college football, likely the nation. Just a sophomore. He'll be back next year. Terrence Marshall still has another year of eligibility also. And Miles Brennan's just going to keep getting better with experience. You know, I am somewhat impressed with Brennan. I think he's got a pretty good arm. I think he's got a decent feel for the game. I think he's, like a lot of young quarterbacks, just got to clean up some mistakes and errors. But you see really the potential that Miles Brennan has, and I think they believe in him. So moving forward. But, you know, talented running backs like LSU does most years. Curry, Emory's had flashes too. But, yep, this defense will grow up, and I'm not ready to hit the panic meter on this program. I think this could be a down year. I think you'll see some more struggles as the year goes on. This could be, a 5-6 win team when it's all said and done. But you know what? I think when it's all said and done at the end of this year, I think you'll be looking at LSU football heading into next year going, this team has a lot of potential to do something great next year with, just about everyone coming back to this ball club. But, don't give up on Ed Orgeron. Ed Orgeron is still a good football coach, and he's a guy that players rally around and want to play for. You saw at USC when he took over after, who was it? Was it Sarkisian that was fired, I believe, back in 2013, I believe. And guys or maybe that was when Kiffin was fired, and guys really rallied around him and played hard for him. He's a guy that works hard, came from almost nothing, and people follow his lead. So I want to talk about my college football top 5. At number 1, I have the Georgia Bulldogs, which might be a surprise to a lot of you, but Georgia is a great football team. This team, I've said it once and I've said it again, their pass rush is pretty scary on this team. I've seen the way Kirby Smart has recruited. This team has got a lot of talent and a ton of depth, and it's a team that's one of these years is just going to put together a team you're going to look back on and say, wow, that team was just loaded with talent. Look at all the NFL players and all the All-American, All-SEC candidates this year. And I think Georgia, they could beat Bama. I think this is a toss-up game. I think they're definitely a very formidable opponent, and they match up well against Bama. They can do, they're a team that they're not scared of Bama. Bottom line, they know they can do things that they want to do against them. They know they don't really have to change up their game plan or, pull out a lot more stops. So Georgia, great football club. Stetson Bennett, kudos to him. Like he said, he wasn't expected to be the guy, but he has done a pretty darn good job of distributing the football. It kind of looks like what he is, a distributor. And he's going to number 10. I forget what his name is, but Pickens too, another great receiver, Zahir White. Georgia has, it's not just the defensive side of the ball. They got weapons on offense, and I think they have the best roster in football. And if I'm basing this off of the last couple games, I think this is the best football team in college football. At number 2, Clemson. Clemson's depth, you see, is just unbelievable. You saw against Miami, they lost a lot of guys like LSU, but you see that they've just recruited so well, and they get guys to play for Sweeney and compete. So this is a heck of a ball club, too, and LSU doesn't look like they've really missed a beat, even though they've had a lot of key losses, and really took care of Miami handily. That just shows that the rest of the ACC isn't that close to Clemson and still chasing the Clemson Tigers. Number 3, I got Alabama. Alabama would have been my number 1, but the way their defense performed against LSU or Ole Miss, I have some concerns moving forward. They really let Ole Miss do whatever they wanted. Matt Corral really torched this defense. And Ole Miss, this is a good offense, and I know Lane Kiffin, from experience, probably knows what Alabama wanted to do defensively, so I think they had an advantage when it comes down to that. But also, this Bama team, they just kind of look lost. And moving forward, you can't look lost against Georgia, or you're going to be in trouble because Georgia has more talented players. That's why to put Alabama ahead of Georgia right now, it's one of those wait and see. But as of right now, I think Georgia is the better team than Bama. But it'll be an interesting game, and it's all going to be decided hopefully Saturday, pending a postponement. But number 4, Ohio State. Obviously, Ohio State hasn't played, but Ohio State loaded with talent. Justin Fields, one of the best quarterbacks in college football. And on the defensive side, still return a lot of guys, especially experience at the linebacker position, a leadership position. Also, Sean Wade has decided to opt back in. Initially thought he was going to opt out. But one of the key players on defense, one of the best cornerbacks in college football, and should be a high draft pick come May. Number 5, I have Notre Dame, Notre Dame isn't really that close to the top 4, but I think Notre Dame, this goes to coaching and a credit to what Brian Kelly's done at Notre Dame, just done a fantastic job of coaching these guys up. Notre Dame is a tough place to recruit, and he has just done a marvelous job of getting this team where it is now, and several, 10-win seasons. So, and the Irish, I really like their running back and experience at quarterback, especially during these, just in general, especially in the COVID era of football right now. I think experience at quarterback is very key. So, but yeah, I wanted to touch on the ACC is still chasing Clemson. That's what the Miami-Clemson game was a bummer. If you're not only especially if you're a Miami fan, but not only a Miami fan, but the rest of the ACC shows that they're not really that close to what Clemson's got going. This is a Clemson team that doesn't have Justin Ross or Xavier Thomas. Xavier Thomas, disappointing that he's not going to play this year. Strep throat and COVID in the offseason, so wish the best of luck to Xavier to try to get back. And but yeah, Clemson, their secondary is pretty good. That Landers kid stepped up. Darian Kendrick, one of the better corners in college football. Skalski, Balin Spector at the linebacker position. I can go on and on. But with Thomas out, their defensive line play has really stepped up. But for Miami, it was too many mistakes. The offsides, and they would have had an interception on that play that really hurt. But not so much bold prediction. Moving forward, Clemson will win another ACC title and continue its dominance in this league moving forward. I think people will have high interest in the Notre Dame game, but I just don't. It's one of those where I see, I said this again going into the Miami game. I think Notre Dame could compete, but I don't think they'll win. It's just Clemson is just too much firepower on offense, too much depth at defense for the Irish, and Ian Book is sometimes shaky when it comes to big games. So that's kind of my take on that. But looking forward to college football this weekend. So excited that the Big Ten's coming back. That'll be so fun. Big Ten fans I know are just craving to get a taste of some Big Ten football. Michigan, Minnesota on ABC. And I think a lot of people are just excited to see what Justin Fields is going to bring. Went vegan in the offseason. Guess he's in a lot better shape. Looks like he's ready to tear it up for the Ohio State Buckeyes. And Michigan State, people are, very curious what we're going to see from Mel Tucker. I'm a believer in Mel Tucker. I think he's a phenomenal recruiter. If you look at a lot of the talented kids on Georgia right now, Mel Tucker recruited Tyson Campbell, Mecole Hardman, he played a couple years back, now having a lot of success in the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs. But so a lot of excitement moving forward, and hopefully the college football season gets a little bit more interesting now with the Big Ten playing. So thanks for tuning in to this episode of Big Time Football Talk. Make sure you guys stay tuned for more shows moving forward, guys. Thanks so much for your continued support of the channel. Till next time, peace.